Premium point-and-shoot cameras are often seen as the holy grail of compact film cameras. The Contax T2, the Nikon 35 Ti, the Minolta TC-1 or the Leica Minilux. But are they really worth it? They come in these beautiful titanium bodies with full manual control over the aperture, the focus distance, exposure compensation, and some of the sharpest lenses ever put in a compact camera. But I've always wondered, does paying close to $1,000 for a point-and-shoot camera really make any sense? And more importantly, am I the type of photographer these cameras were made for? Last year I got the chance to pick up one of these cameras for about half the price. In this case, it is the Leica Minilux. And of course, I had to do it. Since then, I've shot hundreds of photos with it, portraits, still lifes, just everyday photographs. I've had it on me plenty, and I've learned a lot about what makes this camera special and what doesn't. So in this video, I'll give you my honest thoughts about the Leica Minilux. I'll talk about what it's like to use it and hopefully help you to decide whether a premium point-and-shoot camera makes sense for you or not. If you're thinking about getting the Contax T2, the Nikon 35 Ti, they're all very similar, so just tag along. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, hi and welcome. My name is Valentin. I'm an analog photographer and camera lover based here in Berlin. On this channel, I share my love for film cameras, I provide tips and tricks for analog photography, and I'll also take you behind the scenes on some of the projects I'm working on, some of the trips I'm going on. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you'll stay updated on what's going on. Now let's get back into my story with the Leica Minilux. As I already mentioned in the intro, last year around Christmas time, I was walking the streets in my hometown, and there's an old photography store that also has some film cameras. So I went into the store just kind of checking what they had, and I saw this beauty right here in the shelf, and you know, I saw that it was up for around 420 bucks. So I was like, damn, might as well treat myself to an early Christmas present. Since then I've used this camera quite a lot, but definitely not as much as I had thought that I would use it. When I first picked it up, I was like, oh my god, this is awesome, my first ever real premium point and shoot. I'm gonna use this all the time. But then, maybe after 2 or 3 weeks, this camera kind of started collecting dust on my shelf. So I started wondering, why don't I really pick that camera up as much as I would have hoped to or would have liked? That question is what ultimately led me to making this video. Don't get me wrong, it's not the case that the Minilux isn't a great camera, it just seems like it's not the right camera for me. So let me give you a brief overview of what's about to happen in this video. First and foremost, we're gonna start off with the pros of the camera. Pros of cameras like this one. So the Contax T2, the Nikon 35 Ti, they're all very similar. So if you're thinking about getting one of those cameras, just tag along. We'll start with the pros, talk about what are the good aspects about the camera. I'll also be showing you a lot of photographs just as examples when I'm talking about the sharpness of the lens or the depth of field. I will definitely provide you a lot of photographs so you can get a feel for what this camera is able to produce. In the second part, we will also be covering a couple of negatives. Things that I have realized that I don't like so much about the camera, and those are also the aspects that kind of kept me from wanting to use it more and more. And finally, I will share why I personally didn't use it as much as I had hoped, and I will go into who this camera is absolutely perfect for. So after you've watched the entire video, you will know what the positive aspects of premium point and shoots are, what the negative aspects are, and also you should have a good idea whether you're the right person to buy a premium point and shoot, or maybe you should rather stick with your cheaper point and shoot or go with an SLR or rangefinder camera. I'll deep dive into that towards the end of the video. Alright, so let's get started with why people love these quote-unquote premium point-and-shoot cameras. First off, you get an impressive amount of control over the settings on this camera. You can manually choose your aperture, you can choose your focusing distance, you even have exposure compensation, plus you have a lot of modes like a bulb mode, different flash modes, so you really have a lot of control over the final image. Those are all things that most point-and-shoots won't allow you to do. Then of course, there's the amazing lenses that are built into these cameras. On this version that I own, the Leica Minilux, you have this wonderful Leica Sumarit 40mm 2.4. And let me tell you, this is one of the sharpest lenses that I own. I have a Contax T2 with a lot of Carl Zeiss lenses. I have Leica lenses, I have modern Voigtländer lenses. But this lens in this tiny camera is incredibly sharp. I'll show you some example photos, but it's sharp into the corners. I've compared it to a very cheap point and shoot, which is obviously an unfair comparison, but this thing dominates in terms of sharpness, which makes sense because this camera was probably released in the 90s, so they were able to do a lot of modern coating, use the best optics for that time. So if you're just looking for sharpness, this is it. Also, a positive aspect about the Leica Minilux is that the lens is a 40mm focal length, which means that it's not too wide, it's also not too tight, it's just kind of the sweet spot. A lot of people really swear by their 40mm because you can do landscape photography, you can do street photography, you can do portraiture. Since we're already speaking about the lens, the Minilux comes with a 2.4 aperture, which means that you can create a lot of separation, which I will also show some example photos. And you can also shoot in some pretty bad lighting situations, and this camera can handle it without using the flash. So that is something that I find pretty impressive for a point and shoot. Also, when you're talking about the pros of this camera, you definitely have to mention the build quality. It is fully titanium. It feels supremely nice to have holding in your hands. It's sturdy, it's a little bit on the heavier side, but it still feels good in your hands, and it feels like this is not gonna break on you even if you drop it. Don't drop it obviously, but even if you dropped it, I think it would still be fine. Despite the premium build quality, it is still compact enough to just kind of bring everywhere. It doesn't really fit into like a jeans pocket. It would rather fit inside of like a jacket's pocket because it is on the bigger side of point and shoot cameras. I'll be going more in detail in the later part of the video where I'm talking about the negatives, because for me that is one of the biggest cons of this camera, that it's not super small. Also, I really want to mention the autofocus on this camera. I was very pleasantly surprised because the autofocus is something that I really, generally speaking, don't like so much about point and shoot cameras. I have an Olympus Mio 2, which is my favorite point and shoot, and I have to say that the autofocus on that camera is not the best. If you're interested in the Mio 2, by the way, I have an entire long-term review I made on the camera that I will link you up here. So if you want to check it out, make sure to do that. I'm going into all the positives and the negatives, and maybe 200 to 300 euro point and shoot is enough for you, so check out that video. As I was saying earlier, the autofocus is something that I was really impressed with. On the 5 to 6 rolls that I've shot with this thing, maybe 5 to 10 pictures came out autofocus. That's almost nothing. And honestly, even the ones that were like a little bit out of focus, maybe it was also because it was dark and I was using like a kind of low shutter speed. So that's also very much possible. Lastly, the flash and the metering on this is very nice as well. I had no problems with overexposure or underexposure. I felt like most of the shots were like really on point in terms of exposure. I tend to overexpose my film just a little bit, so I usually overexpose it by like half a stop, and everything worked really well. On paper, this camera has everything that you would ever want in a premium point and shoot camera. But of course, no camera is perfect, so let us talk about the downsides. First thing that comes to my mind is the size and the weight, something that I have already talked about a little bit before, but if we compare this camera to something like my Contax T2, which I can just grab over here. Let's look at the cameras side by side. I think that's the best angle to do it. And then also from the back, you know, I mean, they are almost the same size. Of course, we have to take into consideration that on the G1, you usually have a lens that is sticking out, whereas here on this camera, the Minilux, you don't really have it unless you start it up. Then I guess, I mean, obviously it's a little bit smaller, but compared to the G1, it is not that much smaller. And that was something that always kind of annoyed me with this camera. It is on the bulkier side, it is a little bit on the heavier side, doesn't really fit perfectly into my pocket. So oftentimes I thought, should I take this camera or should I just take this camera instead, you know? The next thing that I'm not the biggest fan is the viewfinder. I try to get a close-up like this, and you can see that the viewfinder is pretty small. This is my finger, this is the viewfinder. When you're looking through the viewfinder, it's dim, it's small, it's not a lot of fun, honestly. If you have a Miu or an Olympus stylus, pretty much the same size, so you know it is pretty small. It's okay, it's not the worst, it's not like it's impossible to use, but you know, you have a very, very expensive camera, so I feel like it would have been nicer to have a bigger viewfinder that is way much more fun to use, to focus with. So yeah, I'm a bit bummed out that the viewfinder on this camera is not as nice as it could have been. Also, composing with the viewfinder is kind of a guessing game. I feel like it's not really the case that what's in the viewfinder is what's going to be in the final frame. Another point that I want to mention is the fact that this camera has a maximum shutter speed of 1/400th of a second. That means in a lot of situations that I was in, I wasn't able to go down to f2.4 or even f4. The camera was blinking and telling me it would overexpose, so I had to stop down or let the camera do its thing, and it would often choose apertures like f11, f8, where I wanted to have something that would give me a little bit more depth of field. So especially if you're shooting, let's say 800 speed film and it's bright and sunny outside, that could be a big problem, unless you just want to use f16 all the time. Probably one of the biggest downsides is the so-called flex cable. So these cameras are obviously electronic cameras. There are cables inside of this camera and inside of the Nikon 35 Ti, Contax T2, and one of these cables is responsible for popping and retracting the lens. And it can always happen to you out of nowhere that this cable breaks, and then you're gonna be in trouble. You'll need to find somebody who repairs this camera. You'll need to possibly get some spare parts. I did my research before I bought this camera just to see what would happen if the flex cable broke, and what I was able to find out that here in Germany you're paying around 300 to 400 euros to get that thing fixed. So that is something to definitely keep in mind. So no matter how gentle you are with your camera, you know, taking very good care of it, you don't drop it, you really pay very good attention. One day you just pop out the lens and boom, cable breaks. It wasn't even your fault, it just happens. So you have a 1,000 euro camera that can break at any moment without your responsibility. That is something that you should definitely keep in mind when you're buying one of these cameras. So my tip would be, if you're able to, maybe try to get a camera that had the flex cable repaired recently. So now let us get to the interesting part, to answering the question, is this the right camera for you or not? I would say that in some situations this might be the perfect camera to get. If you're somebody who likes things to be simple, if you love the idea of having one main camera that you can take everywhere, I think a camera like this or the Contax T2 might make a lot of sense. Also, if you like traveling light, if you like going to parties, photographing your friends, being out and about, not having to worry about settings, not having to worry about manual focusing, any of that, I think this camera is perfect. Even though I gotta say, do you really want to bring a camera like this to a party, to a bar night with your friends where everybody's getting kind of wasted? Maybe you would want to take a little cheaper camera. I don't know, that was just a thought that I had sometimes when I brought this camera. I was like, do I really want to bring this, or do I maybe just want to bring the Mewtwo? I think it's also a great choice if you're already into film photography and you want to make a big step up in terms of the image quality, the sharpness, the results you're getting. I would also recommend this camera actually if you have nothing to do with film photography, but you have a bunch of money to spend and you're like, hey, I want something that's easy to use, where I don't really have to read the manual, I don't have to understand anything about aperture, about shutter speeds. I can just spend $1,000, get something really nice that makes really good photographs. This will instantly boost your kind of entrance into film photography. So if you have been like playing around with the idea of like getting an expensive point and shoot as your first camera, if you have the money, by all means go and do it. You can always learn what aperture means, what exposure compensation means, and use these features later, and just start out with popping that thing in program mode and using it as a point and shoot camera. At this point we can obviously discuss if it makes sense to buy a €1,000 point and shoot, or if a €200 point and shoot can do the same thing. That might be a topic for another video. Today I'm just talking about these extremely expensive point and shoot cameras. But if you have any suggestions for really good point and shoot cameras that don't break the bank, definitely leave them down in the comments below. I'll be interested in reading what your favorite point and shoots are. So let us talk a little bit about my personal view on this and why I didn't use the camera as much as I had thought I would. For me personally, this was not the perfect camera because I like to be able to really decide what I'm focusing on, not give any power to an autofocus, even though this one is pretty good, but still know that I'm focusing on exactly what I want to be in focus. Also, I'm a fan of having the ability to switch focal lengths. So obviously with a fixed lens point and shoot, you're not really able to do that. When it came down to choosing what camera to take when I went out on my daily walks, I oftentimes looked at the Minilux and contemplated, is today the right day to take it out? And 95% of the time I decided against it. Since the Minilux is a little bit on the bulkier side and really not that light, oftentimes I thought to myself, if I'm already taking that thing, might as well just pack on the other 20% in terms of weight and size and bring my M6. These cameras have so much more control in terms of the focusing, in terms of the shutter speeds, also in terms of the interchangeable lenses, that oftentimes I decided against the Minilux and for a proper camera. When I think of a point and shoot or occasions when I like to use a point and shoot, I like cameras that are so small that they are barely able to be noticed. Something like the Olympus Mewtwo or the Ricoh R1, those are cameras that are super light, super small. I can just fit them into any pocket and I don't even feel them really on me. Of course, I don't have aperture control, I don't have exposure compensation or any of that good stuff, but when I take a point and shoot, I'm usually just like out and about with my friends, kind of collecting some memories. So I don't really need that high quality glass. I don't really need all of these controls. I just want to make some images that aren't perfect, aren't super sharp. I just want to kind of, as I said, collect some memories. So they don't need to be 100% in focus all the time. When I'm going out to shoot a project, to do work for clients, I'm not taking the Minilux, I'm taking cameras that I really know that I can trust, that have amazing quality lenses. Minilux has that as well, I know. Oftentimes when I'm making serious work, I want to take a serious camera. So in the end, whether a premium point and shoot like the Leica Minilux, Contax T2, Nikon 35 Ti really makes sense for you, depends on your personal situation. If you're somebody like me, who really likes to have full control over everything they do in their photography, then it might not be the best option for you. But on the other hand, if you're somebody who just likes to be out and about with their friends, traveling light, going to a lot of different places, you just want that small camera that fits into your pocket, then the Leica Minilux might be perfect for you. The images that you can expect out of this camera are nothing short of exceptional. Every time I get the scans back from the lab, I'm like, wow, a camera like this can produce these kind of results. I totally get why people love these premium point and shoot cameras. And I'm glad I was able to experience it. Honestly, I'm still contemplating if I should keep this camera or maybe sell it. For this video, I shot one more roll through this thing. When I got the scans back, once again, I was kind of blown away by how good these images are. So that definitely did make it a lot harder for me in terms of my decision if I should sell this camera or not. That's it from my part. I'm very thankful for each and everyone who tuned into this video. If you're thinking about getting a premium point and shoot, I hope that this video was helpful in terms of kind of explaining how I used this camera, who I think that these cameras are really the best for, and also just to give you some example photos of what these cameras are capable of, give you some of the pros, but also some of the cons of these cameras. If you have a premium point and shoot camera, let me know down in the comments below which one you have, and do you like it? Do you hate it? I mean, probably you like it if you didn't sell it yet. But yeah, what has been your experience with premium point and shoot cameras? If you don't have one, maybe let me know which one you would like to get and why. If you have any questions, any comments, you know, I'll be in the comment section responding to yours. So yeah, leave a like if this was helpful. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the new videos that I'm producing. Lastly, just be nice to people, be nice to other beings on this planet, you know. Kindness goes a long way. That is what I think. Otherwise, have a beautiful day, have a beautiful rest of the week. Take good care, my friends. Keep shooting film and keep being creative. Bye bye, I'm out.